Today's episode is sponsored by Select Savory Seasonings. Have you ever noticed that most barbecue rubs on the market use sugar as the first or second ingredient? Worry no longer. With Select Savory Seasonings, they offer fresh, gourmet, small batch, sugar-free and additive-free seasonings and spices to help you make good, tasty food that is good for you so that you can lose weight, get healthy, and feel amazing. Check them out today at selectsavory.com and use coupon code PODCAST to receive 15% off your first order.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Simple Low Carb Lifestyle Podcast. I am your host, Corey, and today we have Kyle Skrinak with us. Kyle has been using a low carb keto diet for several years now to lose weight, get healthy, and if you follow him anywhere online, you know that he is feeling amazing as a result of it. And today we're going to talk to Kyle about how he's gotten there, what got him started on a low carb diet, and go from there. So how are we doing today, Kyle?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Great. Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your health journey, what got you to that point where you decided you had to do something about it, and then what you did from there.
So I've actually, my whole life since I was a child, I've been overweight. And it goes all the way into my single digits. Bunch of stuff happened growing up. And, for example, I scarred my right hand when I placed it on top of an oven or a stovetop with the electric coil.
Ouch.
Ooh. So the doctors figured that what that meant is that there would be issues that came from that. So, and then, bring your own psychologist's chair to that session. But the point is that, I've always struggled with obesity. Mm-hmm. I'm of the age where Weight Watchers just had come on the scene. So I'm 57.
Okay.
And, I was doing that, I'm old enough to remember where you would make toast, put ketchup, and then put the American cheese. And that was Weight Watchers pizza. I know it, right?
Wow. That just turns my stomach, even if I wasn't eating low carb.
It's nasty. It's really bad stuff. And that was, and, and I've done, like the cabbage soup diet. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you didn't visit the family during that period.
I can imagine.
So, and actually, genetically I favor my mom's side, and she had struggled with obesity. So she and I used to do these diets together. And then when Jenny Craig came around, I had lost a bunch of weight. I did great on Jenny Craig. I lost about 110 pounds, 105. Mm-hmm. And it was in that period that I met my now wife. Today is our 26th anniversary.
Happy anniversary. I did see that posted when I got on social media today.
So, yeah, I'm pretty jazzed that we've got 26 years together. And however, that was a classic calorie in, calorie out, restricted diet, and you ate like these little cans of prepared food, and it was brutal. It really was brutal. 6 meals a day, all the standard advice. Yep. The more you snack, the less likely you're hungry, which has always been balderdash. But since the experts said it, why not?
Listen
right?
to it. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not an expert. I'm just some rube from northeastern Pennsylvania, not unlike you.
But I was going to say, that's right.
Hey, no. So moving along here. As I got older and my metabolism, I'm not sure what the mechanisms are, but my obesity was getting worse. Mm-hmm. And in 2016, my GP on my yearly visit had recommended that he didn't recommend anything. He just said, you're obese, you need to lose weight. Well, doctor, I said in response, what do I do? And he said, more vegetables, more fruits, more exercise, the same old failed recipe that has never worked. And by the way, I'd like to say that, for all my strengths and weaknesses, discipline is not a problem. Mm-hmm. I'm very disciplined. I've done very careful tracking of what I ate and made sure that the amounts that I consumed were below the recommended. for the day. As a matter of fact, it would be 500 to 1,000 below the day. And it was such this little ant up the hill of my weight. So in 2016, I clocked in at 295, and I started to, in my quiet moments, started to root around to find an alternative. Now I'm a Duke employee.
Yep.
I work at Duke University. I'm a manager of web development and system admin. And there's a Duke YouTube channel, and serendipitously, providentially, came Dr. Westman giving a presentation, a more scientific discussion on the benefit of low carb and for diet and weight reduction. And I was watching this and I said, this is interesting. I did Atkins for a brief period. I was moderately successful. And I thought, okay, I know fats are bad, right? We all know meats are bad. Fats are bad. But what I'm doing now is failing miserably. So what do I got to lose? So I remember it was, I had badgered his poor office. I called daily until I was able to get in, because then it was 6 to 8 months. I think it's actually worse now. It's even longer. And I got to see the good doctor. We had a conversation. He got me set up. I realized that this was not going to be Atkins. He had this page 4 that we'll probably talk about a little bit more in a minute, and that I was to come back in 2 weeks. And he does this very clever, it's kind of a Socratic round the table. What is sugar? What is a starch? And people take turns guessing, because one of the things we learn is, speaking for myself, I'm very stubborn, and I'm going to keep saying that something is what I want it to be, not what it necessarily is. So I had the initial session. We did the weigh-in. We did the body fat analysis through bioimpedance, and I did the 2 weeks. So I'm ready. And on June 8th, 2017, I had to drive my daughter to Dallas. So I thought, hey, this is a great time to start. My wife is a masterful chef. And now I don't have the lure of those delicious smells wafting into my nostrils. And here we are on the road, and it turns out to be its own adventure, unrelated to diet. But I'm doing page 4. And so I'm on the road for a week, and I'm not weighing myself. And I've always been active. So I still maintained a walking, running regimen while I was on the road. And I get back, and I believe it was about a week and a half, and I had dropped 20 pounds. And I was eating. Now, this will make some of your viewers cringe, but I was eating a lot of processed meats, because, when you're adapting, you're still, the carbs in your system are still hungry. So I found by having like pepperoni, salami, those kind of meats, that was better to snack on that. Than those horrible protein bars, whatever. But it's all processed, whatever. And when I said, holy smokes, I just did 20 pounds and I was never hungry. The nice thing about page 4 is I could have a salad. So I might go to a Mexican restaurant, get a fajita salad, no rice, no beans, no tortillas. But, by the way, fajitas are awesome. Right. Yeah. Everyone.
Very good.
Yeah. I'm looking at the habanero just behind you. So is that a habanero or just a jalapeno?
I think it's just a jalapeno.
Okay. I like both. I like both, and I like spicy.
I feel like really spicy. Carolina Reaper pepper. I've got a Carolina garlic pepper. Carolina Reaper garlic pepper. That's it. That'll wake you up in the morning.
My daughter had me do this. She had gotten this extremely spicy pepper and wanted to see if her dad, with his high tolerance, and it was, I was crying. So anyhow, so it goes great. I go back to see Dr. Westman. I've dropped 40 pounds now. When at my next visit, it's going great. Now the thing is that I did not expect. So I did this to lose weight, and then as a secondary benefit, then I could, at some point go to my doctor and say I've lost weight. Well, I had the problem of falling asleep very easily while driving. I am antsy, I was antsy, and I remain antsy. So if I'm just sitting behind the wheel of a car, that's boring. And I would be sleepy, and I'd have to pull over for a 15-minute nap every 3 to 4 hours. So on the way back from Dallas, it was just like, I'm just going. I'm driving, no problems. I'm not anxious about any of this. And I was like, wow, this is weird. And, and I didn't even, so I realized that there were things changing fundamentally now.
Yeah.
So, 6 months later into the diet, I basically achieved 80% of my weight loss in 6 months. And then the final 20%'s been slow. I didn't get to my target weight that I initially thought I should be, but I like where I am right now.
Yes.
And you could call that a cop-out if you want, but I've gone from a 46 to a 36 waist.
Yep.
I'm now 225, and I go up and down a little bit. I maintain my physical, mostly running now. I used to do weights at the gym. I'm not going to invest in weights at home, and none of that matters. I'll probably do, I've been doing, push-ups, sit-ups, and other calisthenics. So fast forward now, we're 39 months in of solid weight loss.
Yeah.
Right. It's just gone. I don't have to worry. I weigh myself weekly now. And I did all the anxieties, despite, 39 months of this solid goodness, because it is what it is. It took me 57 years. So 36 months really is minuscule in that timeline.
And that's amazing and it's, more and more we hear this from people. It's like, I've tried, and how often have people heard, patients heard, well, you're not trying hard enough. And that's something you said. You're like, no, that wasn't the problem. My discipline was dead on. If I'm supposed to eat 2,000 calories, I was eating 1,500 or less. And now we understand that, well, first of all, eating too few calories is actually a problem. You need to eat enough, or else your body thinks it's starving. That's why it's adding fat. And then on top of that, I mean, your story is a lot like mine, where I've gone actually from a 48 to a 36. I was up to 280 pounds at my heaviest. And I'm not where I want to be at my target weight. But I'm comfortable. I feel good. If I don't lose another pound, I'm happy, because I know I'm as healthy as I've ever been at 44 years old now. I just had a birthday, so I had to double check how old I was.
Happy birthday, belated.
Yes, thank you. Let's see here. So a couple, and like you said, your initial was weight loss. I just want to lose weight. But even within the first week or two, you started to realize there's more to it than this. I mean, something I like to say is, come to low carb for the weight loss. Stick around for the other benefits. Like you said, the energy increase. And what other benefits have you found over these last 39 months that you sit there and go, the weight loss is nice, but wow, I don't want to go back to the way I was eating because of all these other benefits.
My knee. So let me answer your question this way. And when I was 47, I've been going for yearly. So my dad died at 42.
Okay.
And I'm highly motivated not to do that to my family. And I can consider every minute after. I think I said my dad died at 42. So every minute that I've passed that is like a blessing. It's just been, I love being around for all of this. And so at 47, I said, hey, to my GP, different GP than I have now, my knees hurt when I, do a squat, and my ankles are kind of sore. And he looked at me very sternly, said, Kyle, you won't like this diagnosis, but you're getting old. And he was kidding. He was kidding. And I laughed because it's undeniable. And I don't have hangups about getting old, but then I'm like, okay, well, this is what it means, right? At 47 to become 48 and 49 and 50. So at 53, I really wanted to do squats. It's just a good exercise. And I walk a lot, and I walked a lot then. Now I not only can I do squats, I can do the burpees and a variety of the standing, and you collapse your knees in a lot. I don't have any joint ailments.
Yes.
I had psoriasis, mild psoriasis, thank God. But now it's gone from mild to, I might get it on a knuckle here and there. It's just not, it's radically improved. So we all have different ways that the anti-inflammatory nature of our diet benefits us.
Yes.
And so I have felt better at 50. I feel better after my 57-year-old GP visit than I did at 47.
Yep.
And I did not expect that. And here we are.
And that's, again, I'm now, granted, I'm not 57 yet, but at 44, my knees don't hurt. My back doesn't hurt. I mean, I used to I'd stand at the bottom of the stairs to go up to bed and go, I don't want to go up these stairs, because my knees would just hurt so bad. Now I run up the stairs. I can chase my kids around. So yeah, I understand, the extra energy, like you mentioned, and just all of that pain and inflammation is gone. And there've been times where I said, hey, I'm going to have something today, or I'll have a day or two of food I shouldn't have when I really got into this. It hurt. It reminded me very quickly, this is why I stopped eating the breads, the carbs, and everything else, because all that pain and inflammation came back. It would sit there going, why are my knees bothering? Oh, yeah, I did have that 2 days ago. And it would take about a week for it to disappear. So
interesting.
It's amazing how much better I feel. And I know, like you said, you feel because you're feeding your body, actually, but you're not ingesting things that are going to cause pain and inflammation anymore. Also, like you mentioned, not hungry anymore. That blows people's minds. And it's the same thing here. With my dad, for example, I told him, you'll get to the point you don't feel like eating breakfast. I'll never not want to eat breakfast.
Right.
Then it's like, I'm drinking coffee and I'm good till noon.
But you can relate, can't you? You can relate to that.
It's amazing how I can go all day and then come home for dinner and say, okay, well, now I'll eat something, but it's not like I'm starving. Because as I've heard others say, my body can still eat that donut that I had 12 years ago that's sitting on my rear end, because I've got that extra stores of fat. So it's amazing how, like I said, come to low carb for the weight loss, but stick around for everything else, because you just feel so much better. That it's amazing. So you do walking and running. Do you any other exercises and stuff you use? Is that more for weight loss or just for overall health?
Well, so that's it's an interesting question. I think fundamentally while I might have been motivated by weight loss in the past, well, not might have, I definitely was. I enjoyed it. Back in college, I used to run. I went to college in downtown Philly, and I really enjoyed running. And you see things you don't see otherwise when you're running. And I've maintained that ethic. I love my morning runs now. And I could probably be more aggressive. If you go on Twitter and look at the bro Twitter accounts, and they tell you to do all these bro things and bully on them. But I like getting my head out where it's just, when I'm running, it's nearly meditative. I actually use that time to pray, and I catch up on podcasts. So it's a wonderful way to just not veg out, but relax, which is a little different, right?
It's a good way to escape. I mean, you're on your own. You can concentrate on what you need to concentrate on. And I know you do this often. You're also out enjoying the beauty of God's creation. I mean, you get the trees, the animals, the birds, the moon or the sun, depending on the time of day. I know when COVID first started and there was nothing to do, every Saturday we drove up to one of the state parks and we went hiking all day. And, the kids were they loved it. They'd run ahead and see stuff, and worked out nice. There was no one else there on top of that. So, and in my case, years ago, I would have said, you guys go have fun. I'll sit here at the picnic bench and wait for you. But it's like, it makes such a big difference. I know I've seen some of your hiking pictures that you've done with the family recently, and I'm sure back in the day that some of those may have been a lot more difficult.
It was so Pilot Mountain, by the way, if
Yes.
anyone listening or watching us, Pilot Mountain is just spectacular. And we had such a great hike. It was a 3 mile up and down, 3 mile up, 3 mile down.
Mm-hmm.
Had a wonderful time. So, and you know, when the kids are like, when your children, and my children are adults, basically, but they're just loving it. I'm loving it. It's just great. It's good stuff. But one thing I do want to say is, there is this thread within the low carb, especially with the doctors like Dr. Westman and Gary Todd. I don't think he's a doctor, but he's definitely learned or an expert, science reporter. Both of them say that we overemphasize what the role exercise has with weight loss. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of careful to say I enjoy exercise, but I don't like this idea. I'm not a fan of the Biggest Loser flip a tire down a football field. Right. No. If you're just starting out, my dog's about to come in here. That's okay, bud. You know, if you're just starting out, you're going to hurt yourself in a very bad way. So, you know, for anyone listening in and thinks that they want to try this, don't, when it comes to maintaining and staying healthy, it's maybe third or fourth.
Yes.
Are you getting enough sleep? There's other things that are far more important because I see it all the time. I need to exercise. And it's almost like, it's like the years of as a society being overweight and the experts demanding that we restrict calories and exercise harder, keep moving. It kind of brought us to this irrational state where we feel like we have to do penance. Exercise should never be penance.
Yep. Well, it's the attitude of, well, I ate something, now I need to punish my body to make up for what I ate. And there's just more and more studies have shown, first of all, we always overeat what we think. So, I ate 500 calories. It was 2 or 3 times more than that, if not greater. And then on top of that, the amount of calories you burn when exercising is minuscule compared to what I believe was Vinnie Tortorich in college. They did a test. They had a world-class college athlete, and they worked him hard for 30 or 40 minutes, maybe longer, and they figured out he burned 250 calories.
Interesting.
And this is a world-class athlete whose body is designed to work well and didn't do anything. You know, he sat there and he's like, well, what hit him, he had a bag of M&Ms. He's like, this tiny bag of M&Ms is what that guy burned. And I could eat 3 or 4 bags of these in a sitting. Yeah. And it's something that we miss. And again, to your point about when you start off, forget exercise. Concentrate on what you need to do, and that's getting your diet correct first. And then as you get healthier, as your body improves, I mean, I've done little to no exercise, and that's one of those things I do need to get into it, but it's not for my weight loss. It's if you build the muscle mass now, it's there for when you're older. It's for my longevity. It's not for my weight loss. But
it's for fun.
It is.
You know what? It's fun. You have fun walking with your family, right?
We do. We have a blast with it. And concentrate on the important thing, and that's what you put in your mouth. That's going to be an adjustment for anybody, because you're going from processed food and fast food to 6 meals a day to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and maybe even making things you're not used to. People may not. Hey, I'm not used to making eggs. How do I do this? And finding ways to add some variety to their new way of eating and new lifestyle. So, also, I understand you are a forum moderator at about 18 to 20,000 member low carb group online. I believe it's Dr. Westman's page 4 group. And I'm in the group also, and it's interesting seeing a lot of the things that are posted and the struggles that people see. So what are some of the things that in your time taking care of that, the pitfalls that you see along the way that people struggle with on a regular basis?
So being that by ignoring the very advice that we've been told forever, I've fixed things. I've become very animated and motivated to support this. And as you may have noticed, I'm a little opinionated. So,
just a little.
Just a little. And I don't mind sharing my opinions.
Yes.
So what's interesting is so if we were to draw a cloud, if you will, in your mind, and that cloud is called Internet Keto. And I'll actually, a bias of mine is the fact that generally when people say they're strict keto or they're keto, I lose enthusiasm, because that suggests to me, it doesn't mean it, but it suggests that these people don't really know what they're talking about. Keto's the new thing, right?
Right.
And okay, so let's correct 2 points, because right now we've probably triggered multiple people. Calories don't count. Calories count, but don't count calories.
Correct.
We subscribe to the insulin model of weight loss, which is it's insulin spikes that cause the problem, not calories.
Correct.
So before any of you get on Corey's case because he was doing a little calorie and exercise and all that, we know that. We know this. So spare your triggering for other things. But the other thing that I wanted to say is, and I just lost it, is that keto. So keto, right? I've been keto. I get this because, right now Holly Berry is a big proponent of low carb, and, that's not difficult for me to explore the before and after and all that. But then people, well, what is keto? Right? So people don't really know what that is. And I'm not knocking anyone, right? Ketosis, and how is ketosis not ketoacidosis, and they're similar but not the same thing. So people like, I just want this unicorn called keto. And when the people come to the forum, there's a lot of misconceptions. So we covered the one big one is that you don't exercise to knock yourself out.
Yep.
That's not going to do anything, and it's not going to it's not going to forgive the sin of whatever food you ate. Right?
It's not a magic bullet to take care of what you've ingested.
Yeah, just relax. We all make mistakes. Don't punish yourself. That's not the thing. The other thing that a lot of people will come in and say is that, well, I'm an emotional eater. And what I notice in the low carb community, I don't see a lot of people 2+ years in saying I'm still an emotional eater.
Yeah.
What they're likely to have been, and there are exceptions, is that they are carbs. They're addicted to carbs. Yep. And Saiwez, how do you say his name? Saivez, Dr. Saivez?
Dr. Saifas.
Yeah, he's really good on that.
Yep.
I strongly recommend checking him out, because I like his emphasis on, and he and Westman's protocols have a lot of overlap, which is good. So once you ditch the carbs, you'll be surprised at what your body can do.
Yes.
In a good way, and how it clears your head.
Yep.
And you want your head cleared. So, and other people come in saying, well, what about fiber? And my dad died of cancer, colon cancer.
Okay.
So I've been given the advice I've seen commonly, which is red meat and saturated fats are going to be bad for you. And well, this is TMI, but let's just say that I've been really good as it relates to that. Salt, a lot of you could probably avoid the carb withdrawal, which is also called the keto flu, but I prefer carb withdrawal.
Yep.
You could avoid a lot of it with simple salt or bouillon cubes.
And an excellent book, if people really are worried about the salt intake, is The Salt Fix. I believe it was written by Dominic. Was that?
Oh, D'Agostino?
Yeah, I think D'Agostino wrote that one, or no, maybe not. But it's called The Salt Fix. But the name is just escaping me. I sat down and read that and was blown away with how ingesting too little salt is going to cause more problems than the problems they claim too much salt will actually induce. Our bodies are are amazing machines. If you eat too much salt, it will filter out what you don't. You'll basically pee out what you don't need, and off you go. But eating too little is causing a lot of the problems. They say too much salt. It was a great book that I highly recommend.
And we got to say, but we do have to say that there are people with the heart conditions, and too much salt too soon can mess them up.
Yep.
So
that's where you still work with your doctor.
Yeah. So a common thing I see people say is that, oh, I've got, I don't know, just something I haven't heard of, and I've heard the keto will cure it.
Mm-hmm.
No, work with a doctor. Find a doctor who, if they're not all in, they're at least open to the possible benefits. So don't, if you're getting medical advice from Facebook, we're in a whole lot more hurt than just that specific advice. So moving on, one of the things that I would recommend if you're considering low carb is take a lot of photos and measurements.
Yep.
Now, photos are fun because when you see the before and after, it's astonishing.
Yep.
What I like about keto as opposed to low carb, as opposed to the low fat diets. Low fats, when I did the Jenny Craig, I looked emaciated.
Yeah.
I did not lose that much, if any, muscle on this.
Yes.
So people say, Kyle, you're buff. And I'm like, well, no, I'm just not, my body's not eating its own muscle to sustain the burn it needs when you're still on the glycogen burning model. Yep. So it's kind of fun to see the before and after, and it's encouraging too.
Yes.
Women tend to not have the same rate of weight loss that men experience, but they still have benefits. It just expresses differently.
And with that, I always recommend both of those. I also throw in there, keep your belts, because as you get smaller, you can, and or whatever your larger size pants were. I wish I still had mine, just to be able to show yourself. But also, you're gonna hit a point where you're like, I'm in a quote unquote stall. I haven't lost weight in, it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. But if you're taking your measurements and pictures, you're going to step back and go, wait a minute, but I'm shrinking. The scale's showing nothing. But I went down, and I did it myself. I went down a pant size, didn't lose weight, which, in our own thought mind is like, well, that's not possible. Well, it is entirely possible. It's body composition change. You are losing fat. It's shifting and moving, even though the scales don't show you a weight loss. I mean, weight loss isn't the ultimate goal. It's health and body recomposition. So those are two great tips to help along with that, especially when you hit those trying times where you're like, I'm not losing, so I want to go cheat. Well, it may not be losing weight, but you're going to be losing fat along the way as you just keep at it.
So another thing that I'd like people to learn how to do is read a nutritional label. Mm-hmm. The benefit of it, and I know you actually had talked about this in a different venue, but you want to look at not the serving size, but the overall package information. So as someone who follows Dr. Westman's protocol, I'm going to skip ahead here and cut to the chase. I still remain 20 total carbs of grams a day. That's pretty low. It's pretty low, but I could still have salads and when my wife adds she makes Brussels sprouts that are just amazing, or asparagus. I think we're having pea puree tonight with salmon. Okay. So yeah, really good stuff. So, but you want to know what you're eating. The carbs are in everything. I remember I was in the mood for horseradish for salami one time. Yep. There's sugar in horseradish. I'm like, why? What are you doing? What? Stop.
Sugar's in everything.
It's in everything.
I mean, I had one day, was it everybody's favorite Mart, and they had some hamburgers that were marked down, pre-made bacon cheeseburgers. I'm like, this is great. Yeah. Bought them, threw them in the freezer, and it was 4 or 6 weeks later. I'm like, I might have those tomorrow. And something said, read the label. I pulled it out, flipped it over. There were 3 carbs per burger. It's like, this should be ground beef, bacon, and cheese, and yet they threw such sugar and such other junk in there. I threw them in the trash can. Yeah. And of course, stupid me, I know better. I should have flipped over the label before I even grabbed it. But I thought, it's a hamburger. It shouldn't be a problem. And yet, sure enough, there it was. Learning how to read the labels is vital, and understanding the various names that are used for sugar, because, just because this is organic doesn't mean anything.
Sugar's organic.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
One of my friends, I think you follow Chris on Twitter also,
yeah.
and we were both at Low Carb Denver this year, and he went to the local store nearby. He saw a bag of beef jerky that said organic, and he flipped it over, and it was 12 sugars per serving.
Yes, it's maddening.
I'm like, there was more sugar than beef in the serving.
Yeah.
Is how much they threw in there. He took pictures and put it on Twitter, and I'm like, I reshared them because actually I took those for you. It's ridiculous. And
sure is.
Lots of other things are organic, but we don't either. I'll remind me of several other comments I've heard about eating organic. But anyway, but yeah,
Like hemlock.
learning. Yeah, well, cocaine's organic, but
Yeah, that's right.
I was thinking, well, since your dog just walked by, what he leaves in the backyard's organic too, but we don't eat that. So
Holly's a she. She's sensitive about that. So
I'm sorry.
Step carefully.
I hope she doesn't cry herself to sleep tonight. I know that dog whining can be frustrating.
Oh, yeah, well, you know what I've started to do too. This is a total aside. When my wife preps meals, she'll trim the fat off, and I'll collect the trimmings and put them in the slow cooker. So like 200 degrees for about 4 to 6 hours, and you get all that delicious fat rendered out.
Yep.
And some of that I've been putting in her kibble.
Yeah.
Some people would actually, you can give your dog, meat. I know Dr. Sean Baker is a big fan of just doing the real stuff.
Meat. Yep.
Yeah. But I'm not as rich as certain doctors, so
that's
my compromise.
There's a lady, I forgot I was listening to a podcast, and she actually brings in dogs that are in end life cancer, and they basically feed these dogs a keto diet, and the cancer stops at the very least. They regain their health, their energy, and their vitality. And all she did was took them off the garbage kibble, and they feed them chicken, beef, and just meat. And the dogs come back. She's like, every single time. So if you got a pet that's having a hard time, chicken can be found really cheap.
And why does that surprise us?
Well, they use grains to fatten up pigs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was actually a farmer who's like, well, if fat fattens us, he gave it to his pigs. It didn't work. The pigs got skinnier. Wait a minute. But that's an aside. So what else have you found either on there or tips that also that people really should understand and learn going into starting their low-carb journey?
So another common misperception. Well, first of all, Dr. Westman would say you can't overeat. It is possible to overeat.
Yes, it is. I do. I have, so I understand that.
Sure. But here's what's interesting. So I've been good about it because I noticed that the less carbs I eat, the more animal protein I eat. Animal protein triggers natural satiety.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's why Dr. Tro has had this online. But 600 calories of pizza and 600 calories of ground beef, it's a night and day difference.
Yes.
And one thing I did to test this theory is I took 2 pounds of ground beef and made it my lunch. Mm-hmm. I could not believe not only how stuffed I was, but how I remained stuffed.
Yeah.
Well past, it was about 8 hours, 10 hours before I started even thinking about food again.
Yep.
So isn't that cool that we're on a diet that by eating real food, real meat, stuff that's supposed to have killed us, the opposite happens.
Yep. And something that I had to force myself to do is learn to listen to your body. Like you mentioned, the satiety. Yeah. Being satiated with what you eat. And early on, when I really started into this back in 2017, I'll say full-time, really making it my lifestyle. Old habits die hard. So let's sit on the couch. It's 7, 8 o'clock. It's just time for a snack. Well, I would go eat a low-carb snack. I'd grab some pepperoni, some cheese, maybe some peanuts, which are a trigger for me, so I avoid them as much as possible. You can't eat a handful, you eat the whole can. And there was just one day I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm going to go have a snack. I'm not even hungry.
Right.
Why do I need a snack? And our brains have been so wired over the years of you got to keep eating. We have to learn to understand what it truly means to feel full. And then, I like a lot, if you think you're hungry, go drink some water. And that's what I keep doing at work now. It's, hey, that lunch I brought sounds good. It's 10 o'clock. Drink some water. Yeah. I'm nowhere near hungry. My brain says it sounds good, but my stomach is saying, what are you, crazy? So that's one of the ways, and I used to think that was crazy. Water? No, it doesn't work on a high carb sugar diet.
Right.
But on a low carb diet, it'll tell you quickly, okay, are you really hungry or are you just thinking of food? And causing yourself to want to eat when you don't need to. That's something that it takes time. I mean, obviously our bodies have to adjust to finally understand, oh, that's what it means to truly feel hungry.
That's right.
As compared to, with a high carb diet where your body just, it's starving for what it needs. And so it's telling you to eat more because you're feeding it junk and not, whole healthy meats, not grains. Anything else that you have that would be beneficial?
So two more things. One is another common mistake I see is that people will mix and match protocol by different doctors. Mm-hmm. And that is a problem because they don't overlap. So I have a lot of respect for, I already mentioned Dr. Tro, there's Dr. Sean Baker, there's Ken Berry. Country Doctor Ken Berry. And they're similar, but they're not. So do yourself a favor, pick one that you kind of maybe feel, so Dr. Westman and I share a pretty large demographic in terms of where we are and whatnot. So that temperamentally, that makes sense to me. Although the one thing I do want to say about Dr. Westman is he is evidence-based. Apparently part of his training was with some famous person who always went back to the evidence. And the other thing I like about Dr. Westman is, despite his clear bias on low-carb diets, if you say something that doesn't jibe with him, despite his own bias, he'll push back.
Right. He'll do the research.
Yeah. So, or if he says it's inconclusive, he'll defer.
He'll say so.
At that point, he won't just stamp his feet and say, no, you'll be fine. So find a doctor and pick that one and make him or her your keystone doctor for that. And the other point I want to make that we've covered is, so I'm not a big fan of fasting. I do have a window of eating. So like yourself, lunch is my breakfast. I'm not so, however, though I will have a snack around 4 p.m. Fridays, I actually don't eat until dinner, but that's more religious in motivation.
Okay.
So, you don't have to anymore, but there was a time when Catholics only had fish on Fridays. And I've just make Friday my, knuckle up and not eat until dinner. And that's why we're having this amazing salmon in just a few minutes. Yeah. Yeah. And, she's also good about getting non-farm raised, but the fresh catch, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, there's been a lot of mixing. Dr. Eric Westman is actually skeptical on the benefits of fasting. He says, if you're not hungry, don't eat.
Yes.
That might look like a fast, but it's not a fast per se. Whereas Dr. Jason Fung and his model, his insulin, don't spike your insulin model, is explicitly focused on
fasting.
Fasting,
yep.
Right. And I can tell you that I cannot follow Dr. Jason Fung's protocol because I like food.
It's tough. I've done a couple of 3-day fasts that easier when you're on the road and working. So it's like, hey, I'm traveling, so it makes it a little easier, no big deal. And I've done it. Yeah, I lose weight. I felt good. Like people think I can't do that. I'll pass out. No, I was fine. But I would rather stick to, at the worst, a 1 meal a day approach. and have that one meal concentrated heavily on animal-based products, whether it's, I prefer beef more than anything else, but chicken and pork thrown in there too.
Yep.
Some low carb veggies, the cruciferous vegetables. I'm not a salad person anymore, so I'd rather have some broccoli or cauliflower with some cheese on it, possibly, or seasoned and buttered than I would a salad myself. But and then I'll be good for almost another day if that's what I'm up to. But I like that advice. Find someone who, as you look at what they recommend, you can follow.
Yep.
If you look at page 4 and go, there's no way I can do that, then great. Find what you can do. If you think fasting is better for you, go read Jason Fung's books. He's got some excellent books out there. And he's also got some excellent books that have nothing to do with fasting. The Obesity Code and the Diabetes Code are both great books that don't specifically concentrate on fasting, but the reason behind obesity and diabetes. And he also has his fasting book too. And of course, also another one that has a slightly different approach is Ted Naiman with a higher protein, lower fat.
Yeah, that's right.
Which every body is different. So you may find that, hey, you know what? A protein energy ratio that he likes to talk about with less fat works better for your body. You may find out that some others that, higher fat percentage in my diet is better for me. But pick one, stick to it, give it 2 or 3 months, see how it goes. If you're finding it's not quite where I want, adjust. But like you said, if you're trying to mix and match, well, he says this, he says that, and you're changing constantly, your body's not going to adjust. I mean, it'd be like going to the gas station and putting in the cheap gas one day, and the next day I put the high test in, and then one day I accidentally put diesel gas in. Well, now it's not going to work well at all, and your car's not going to run well, and our bodies are the same way. So that does make a big difference. That's a great recommendation. Let's see here. And I like something that you also wrote down in our communication: diet to live, not live to diet. But that's difficult for people to grasp, is that, I have to diet. No, you eat what you eat so that you can live and have a life, not the other way around. Food's not the focus.
So what was interesting about that for me is when my daughter joined me on doing a low carb regimen, and she lost a huge amount of weight effortlessly. And I was like, hey, hon, this is great. I'd love for you to give a testimony for your age. And she said, you know what, Dad? Because she takes after me genetically, so she's got the same, whatever propensity that is or was.
Yep.
She said, with it behind me, I just don't care anymore. Mm-hmm. And I could see so if I had if I could go in the Wayback Machine, because Atkins' first book was 72 or 68.
It was early 70s, I think. Yeah, I know my parents back in the 70s had done it off and on. So, which blew me away when I started doing it early on in my 20s. They're like, oh yeah, we've done that before. It works real well. Why didn't you keep doing it? Well, we like the other foods that, now they're mid 60s and eating a low carb keto diet in the best shape of their life. Well, they just feel so much better. It's like, wow, our bodies actually work again.
Yeah.
Like, I told you. So it's amazing. But yeah, I'm sorry, off track there. But yeah, that book was in the early 70s.
But had I experienced the weight loss she experienced then, I could see, because I didn't have a lifetime of struggling with the, and I always used humor to get around my discomfort with my being obese.
Yeah.
So you develop these mechanisms. And I know that if you were to interview, as you will, people like me who've been obese their whole life, we all develop these different reflexes to make the best of our situation. And I would argue that societally, as males, we have less baggage to be an obese male, but it's still, it's still there. And going to the Husky section to get jeans.
Yeah. Oh, I had to do that as a kid.
Yeah. The Husky section.
It makes a big difference.
So when you make the switch, so I am, banging the cowbell about this, but that's only because I know that people don't have to keep don't keep, it's the definition of insanity. Calories in, calories out, just move. Doesn't do it.
Yep.
There are a few that it does. I mean, what is it? I think 2 in 10 will respond positively to that intervention. Yes. But for some reason, they've said, 10 in 10 need to fall. It's not. Works for 2 in 10.
Because you've tried it, I've tried it, and many other people on our podcast. They've done it. They were disciplined. They worked hard. They tried. Many of the doctors we've already mentioned were that way also, and they realized I'm doing what I told my patients to do, and it's not working for me. Something's not right here. And then when they did the research, they come back and go, wow, it's even in the literature that a low-carb diet is beneficial for weight loss, along with the other health benefits that come with it. So that makes a big difference.
Yep.
So, well, we're getting close to about an hour. I want to respect your time. And I didn't forewarn you about this, but I have a question that I ask everybody at the end of the podcast, and that is, what is your go-to easy low-carb or keto meal, whether that's breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Yeah. Whether you prep me or not, I got an easy one for that. So I buy about 5 pounds of ground beef, and I just the ground beef itself, I pat them into patties, and I freeze them so that in the event that there's nothing available. Oh, and by the way, too, if you get the high-fat ground beef, it's more cost-effective.
Yeah.
So it's a good price point. And I've got, like, currently right now, I think I have like 20 or 30 frozen patties.
Yeah.
So if push came to shove, I can just bring those out. And sometimes, for example, I'll use that to augment a meal too.
Sure. And that's great. I mean, we do lots of ground beef. We almost always buy the 7327.
Yeah.
When it's on sale in our area, I know it's different across the country. We get it for under $2 a pound. And even when it's not on sale, it's usually under $3 a pound.
That's really good.
Going to Aldi, really, for example.
Good. Yeah.
But we've got a couple of smaller stores in the area. When they do sales, it's like, I'll go buy 50 pounds of ground beef. You looked at funny on the way out the door, but that's okay. So
yeah, but so on that question, so here's my chance. Well, this won't be my last question for you because I don't do this regularly. But don't you spy the conveyor belt and want to just say, what are you doing?
Yeah, I understand the thought. I mean, I walk around, and even more so now with all that's going on with the virus, it's like, the health. If you're healthy and feeding your body, if you happen to get it, you're much better able to handle it. And yet I see carts just full of soda, full, just cases of Mountain Dew and everything else. And the Pop-Tarts, one of my nemesis, the Little Debbie cakes, which I just the thought of them, my teeth hurt today. But I mean, I could sit down and eat them by the box, especially when I was living on my own. It's like, hey, I have 2 or 3 of those before bed, and I'm good. Well, I wasn't good, but you get the point. And, as I've learned, you can't force people to do something they're not willing to do. So if anyone's listening and you're like, hey, look, I keep hounding my mom or my dad or my husband or my wife, and you can't push them. In my case,
you can't. It just it's a turnoff. It's a turnoff for me when people like push their beliefs down my throat.
Yep. And I mean, when I wasn't doing what I knew I needed to do, my wife said something about it. And I finally said, you need to stop, because if you keep pushing me, I'm going to go the wrong way, and it's not going to end well.
That's right.
I have to come to this. And she didn't want to hear it. She did not like that in the slightest. But it was about a year later, she had, and I don't know what the motivation was at the time, but she's like, hey, let's see who can lose 10 pounds the fastest. And I'm like, well, I win because I have 10 pounds to lose. You don't. It's like, all right. But something triggered when she said that I've got a wife and kids now, and I'm not setting the example for my kids. I'm telling them, you need to eat like this, but I wasn't. And now, we don't go and what we would do before is, hey, we're going to deliver pizza, but you guys are eating hot dogs. Well, now we'll make our own low-carb pizza, which for anybody listening, Rosette's new dough, Rosette's Baked Goods, that pizza does amazing stuff. That's free. I don't get paid for that. I need to order more. I'm going to go broke because of my kids buying that stuff. But there's ways around the stuff you used to eat.
There's always
if you really
meatza.
want to. I do meatsas also. I'll make ground beef and sausage as the crust, mix in some cheese. And I prefer that most of the time than a fathead pizza.
I've never had fathead pizza.
It works. And that's kind of what the Rosette's Bake does, because you do use some cheese in it. But it actually comes out thin and crispy. It was really, she did a really good job in making that. So where can people find you if they want to connect with you online? Where's the best places to find you? And I'll put those in the show notes also.
So it's phonetic, Skrinak, Screenack. That's my Twitter handle. That's about I do have my Facebook's really I just use for my family.
Okay. Yep.
And I do have my testimony, but if you go to my Skrinak Twitter handle, that'll take you to where I've got my write-up on my general thoughts on low carb adoption. So Skrinak and on Twitter, and I'm moderate. I'm a moderate tweeter.
Not you make a couple of tweets a day.
Yeah.
Every now and then. So, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on. I'm sure those that listen to this are going to learn quite a bit and benefit from it. And I'm looking forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
All right, Corey.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.